Okay, so let's talk about your final project. So I'm going to present here for you guys and show you kind of what we need to be working on. All right, so you should see my screen. All right, so when you are working on your final project, this is kind of what it looks like. And you're going to see two different things. You're going to see a final product and you're going to see a final product instructions. Now, for some reason, when we designed this, it would not let me put the instructions and the final product in the same thing. You only have one final product to turn in. So this instruction portion right here, I don't need you to turn this part in at all because you will not receive a grade for it. It just tells you what you need to do on this. Okay, so let's take a look at both of these so you can see what they look like. On the final project instructions, it will look like this. Okay, and it just has the instructions on there. Okay, it says final product, part one. For the final product, you're going to create a food web using the flow of energy in your ecosystem. So this is all about the ecosystem you chose in checkpoint one. And remember, it's going to show how everything is interconnected because one of those animals or one of those plants or whatever, if something happened, it would affect other things in your ecosystem. They're all interconnected. They all work together. So you're going to create a food web over your ecosystem and the 10 biotic things that you chose in checkpoint one. So you want to make sure you use those 10 things. Okay, so you can do it a couple different ways. I've had a lot of people take a picture of the one they've drawn like on just notebook paper, and that is totally fine. Just please make sure that I can read it. A helpful hint would be to write it out and then go over it with like a pen or like write really dark just to make sure I can read it pretty well. Or I'm going to show you how to insert a picture, but I'm also going to show you how to do this on Google, and then make sure it's really easy. Okay, and then so there are some instructions here. But if you go to the part that you turn in, if you click back here, on this final project, it's going to take forever to load, so I have it pulled up. It's literally just going to bring you to a blank PowerPoint, Google Slides. And so on this first slide, you'll want to give it a name. So it could be like ecosystems project, and then I would put your name on it. Just so that way, like when I'm grading it, it's easier for me to see it. Okay, so this first page is all about the ecosystem that you chose. If you wanted to put a title slide in there, I'm okay with that. Okay, so let's say that I did a forest. And this would be Mrs. Cummins. All right, so the next slide I'm going to actually make, come over here, just right click and hit new slide. And that brings me to the next slide right here. Okay, so I could call this my forest food web. Now, if you draw this and take a picture of it, if you come down here to where it says click to add text, you can literally just come up and hit insert, insert an image. If you have it on your computer, you'll do it there. If you saved it to your Google Drive, it'll be down here. If you have it in your photos, and I've never used this, or if you have a camera on your computer, you can hit camera and then so like now you can see my face. You could take a picture of it. All right, and then insert it into that document. It might take a few minutes to load. See, it says creating images. It might take a few minutes. See, there I am. Like I put myself in there. So if you wanted to do that, it would be super embarrassing, but you could. All right. I'm actually going to keep that picture up here for later. I'm just going to make it smaller. Okay. So when you're creating your food web, well, I can't even spell forest right today. when you're creating your food web, please remember that it's all about the flow of energy. It's not necessarily who eats who, it's where does the energy start and where does the energy go. So we get all of our energy from the sun. If we didn't have the sun, the world would cease to exist as we know it. So we first have to see what living thing, what biotic factor, what biotic thing creates its own food. So what creates its own food would be plants. Okay. So in my forest ecosystem, I've got a couple different types of plants. Like I can put trees in there. So I might even put like a maple tree and be specific. And I might talk about just grass. So if I come up here and let me put in an image, and let's just, I'm going to search the web for right now. So let's talk about grass. I just need a picture of grass. Great. This one looks good. I'm going to drag it over, drop it in there. And again, it might take a few minutes when you're loading. See, that is gigantic. I don't need it anywhere that big. So if you actually hit the corner of the picture and you get these blue little squares around it, if you drag the corner one, it won't mess up, it won't distort the picture. So I'm going to make it kind of small there for me. So I'm going to put grass in there. And then let's also talk about maybe like a maple tree. Okay, good. Love it. Throw this one in there. Make it smaller, and then I can move it to where I want it. Now, I find it easier when you're doing this to stick them at the bottom. These are your producers. These produce their own food. So they take the energy from the sun and they make their own food from that. So I like to put them at the bottom just to keep it simple, just so that your food web doesn't get too crazy. Now, these are your producers. They make their own food, but how does that energy get to me? Like, how does that energy move to somebody else? So if we're talking about where does this energy go, I think about what might eat this grass or might eat the things on this tree. So let me think about this grass. I know that I have a lot of deer in my backyard that run through. So let's say, because I live right by some woods. All right, so let's say that the deer are going to eat this grass. Okay, drag my picture in here. Now, you can draw this, but I think this may be the easiest way to do this if you're going to do it on a computer. Again, still my picture is gigantic. Okay, so I've got my deer. Let's think about some other things that eat grass. Or this, I'm just going to say like, let's talk about a ladybug. It's asking me for a cartoon. That's okay. I don't care if it's a ladybug, like if it's a real picture or not, if it's a cartoon version. That's okay. Okay. So let's say that I have these on there. Now, how do I make it a web? Now, a common misconception is that students, I'm going to try to get rid of this box just to make life easier. Nope, not gonna let me. There it goes. Is to use lines, and that is actually not what I want, because that doesn't show me where the energy started and where the energy travels. So if I come up here to this shape, I can actually find arrows, which is super nice. And I think I can move them different directions. So the energy starts at the grass and then it goes to the deer when the deer eats it. So I'm going to draw an arrow. Here. All right. Now it brings these little boxes over. And if I click on this little yellow one, I can, up here, I can rotate it like this. Okay. That shows me the energy starts at the grass and then it's transferred to the deer when the deer eats it. Okay. Now, same thing down here. I have the tree, and the ladybug might get its energy from the tree. Nope, wrong thing. Sorry. So I'm going to click on my arrows, come over here. And there might be different arrows. Like, you don't have to use the same one. So, like, this one is not really one that's going to be effective. I don't like it. Try again. Okay, and it goes where the energy starts to where the energy is going. Now, this arrow is not shown in the right spot at all, so I'm going to rotate it this way. All right, and you can make them smaller just so they don't take as much space. That's totally up to you. It goes from my tree to my ladybug. Okay, now remember this is interconnected. So can the ladybug also eat the grass? I'm not sure if ladybugs eat grass, but let's say that they do. Okay, I can also draw an arrow from my grass to my ladybug. Okay, to show that it can get its energy here. And now this is where it gets a little confusing because it's going to get kind of messy. All right, now let's say that you have, let's insert some more pictures in here because remember, you're going to have 10 things on this picture because you're going to use the 10 things from the ecosystem that you chose in checkpoint 1. You already have the 10 things. You just have to show how they're interconnected here. So let's insert an image. Let's go. Let's say that you drew a bird. Okay. All right, now they're going to show you lots of different types, and hopefully you picked a specific bird that you chose. I'm just going to throw a cardinal in for now. You notice how I haven't used me yet? That's okay. We'll get there. All right, so you have your bird. Now your bird, let's say your bird eats the ladybug. So the energy goes from my ladybug to my bird. All right, now what eats a deer? Okay, so if I'm talking about a forest around here, I might be talking about some different things, but I have a lot of coyotes behind me. I don't even know how to spell coyote. It's with an O. Okay. All right, so I'll throw, I think that's more of a wolf picture, but it'll work for today. All right, now I know that coyotes, they attack deer all the time, so that's how they're getting their energy. And so I might want to show that this arrow goes from the deer to the coyote. Okay, but I also know that there are a lot of people that go deer hunting. I've just taken up the hobby. I've never killed anything. I'm not that talented. My husband is super good at it, but me not so much. Okay, so you want to make sure that like this arrow doesn't really show us. It kind of looks like it's going from the deer to the bird. Now the bird is not going to get its energy from a deer because it doesn't eat that. So I want to make sure that I turn this arrow to make it do what I want it to do. Okay. And let's say that, so right now we have everything connected. Everything is connected. I don't have 2 separate food webs. I have 1 food web. You want to make sure that you do that in your project. Now let's say that this bird lands on the ground and it dies, and let's say that the wolf wants to eat it. So we can come in here, and you see how I'm using the pictures usually more, like sometimes more than once. So the energy is going to go from the bird. Oh, this is facing the wrong direction. And this is okay. Like, because I'm like, ooh, I don't want to, this tells me that the wolf is sending its energy to the bird, which would mean the bird is eating it. No, no, no. So I need to make sure my arrow is facing the right direction. You could just delete it and try another one, or you could just turn it around. Okay. And so this picture becomes very, very kind of messy, but it shows how the organisms are interconnected. How if we took one of these things out, like if we took the deer out, we would have a ton more grass, and then the wolves would have less to eat, but so would humans that hunt them. So show how, like, if one thing was missing, how everything would become a problem. I know that a lot of people aren't a huge fan of deer hunting, but it actually is usually a good thing, and there's a limit on it so we don't destroy the whole deer population. But if we didn't hunt the deer, they would become overpopulated, and then there would be less grass. And so if there was less grass, there'd be less things for like certain bugs to eat. It would be great for the coyote population if we weren't around, because it would be easier for them to eat the deer. But if this overpopulates, then you're going to have less grass, and it's going to affect other things. So it's all a give and take. If we take one thing out of the ecosystem, other things are changing. Okay. So on your first slide, you have your picture. Again, you can draw this and just insert a picture, but please make sure I can read it. And then if we go back to our instructions, because it's been a while, let's make sure we've done everything on here. You must include all of your biotic factors from checkpoint 1. All right. I didn't use all 10 because I don't have a checkpoint 1. I was just giving you an example. Make sure you have all 10 of them. They must show how the energy moves from which animal to which animal by using arrows. Okay. So in mine, I have the arrows, and it shows where the energy starts to where the energy goes. Make sure you do that. Arrows must connect the biotic factors at least once. We kind of talked about that. I don't have anything that is not connected. So like if I were to, let's say worm, not worm on a string, just worm. I would not want to just put this in here. It's being slow, sorry. Okay, well, it's not letting me use that. Let's do centipede. I hate centipedes. Oh my gosh, there's like my least favorite bug I found in my house the other day, and I did not like it. Okay, so I wouldn't want to put this on here and then not show how it's connected. I would want to use arrows to make sure it connects in there. So usually birds eat things like centipedes, so I would want to make sure that I use some arrows, connect it. The energy goes from the centipede to the bird. And then I would need to show like what it eats. So let's say if I had a tree, and this was supposed to be just a worm, but they eat things from trees. I would want to connect those in. Okay, don't leave anything by itself. Don't have two separate food webs going on in the same picture. Make sure it shows how everything is interconnected. It's totally fine if you have more than one arrow coming from things. It's actually good if you do that. Must be neat and easy to read. And this part is funny. If we were at school, I would make you do a sloppy copy. I would make you draw one out on a piece of paper to make sure you know what you're doing. And then if it was ugly, that's okay. It's your sloppy copy. So on the next one, you know that if you needed to move the people around or the animals around to make it easier, that's okay. Include a title and include your name, especially if you do this with a paper copy that you drew. Make sure your name and title's on there. If you make a again, I didn't spell forest right. I apologize. If you do it like a title slide, I'm okay with that. You wouldn't have to put your name in that on here. Okay, so part 1 of our project, it looks like we're finished. There are also some videos here. Now, this part is important. Pictures and food webs stolen from the internet will not be accepted. You will notice that I took pictures from the internet here. All right, but I designed my own food web. if you just come up here and type food web and copy and paste it in here, I'm going to throw it out and you will get no points for that because you have to do it based on the ecosystem and the organisms that you chose in checkpoint 1. If I see a picture like this on here, I will get rid of it. Okay. Now, if you don't want to use pictures and you just want to type words, like I'm going to show you this one for just a second. This one has, it just has the words and doesn't use a picture. I'm okay if you do your food web like that. It doesn't have to have pictures, but again, you have to make it. We can't steal it from the internet. Okay. All right. Checkpoint 1, part 1 looks good. Now we're going to come down here and it says, what would happen if, please add this to slide 2 of your PowerPoint. So up here, I'm going to add a new slide. I just right clicked, hit new slide. And it was called what would happen if. And I think this one's biotic. Let's go back here. Yeah, this one's all about your biotic factor. This tells me that you know that it's a biotic factor, and it tells me what this whole part is going to be about. Okay, so let's go back to our instructions. Pick an animal to leave your food web, sad day, and write a paragraph telling me how the animal left, that it could either be killed out or just up and leave, but keep it school appropriate. Tell me how this might benefit another species, and tell me how it might hurt another species. So let's go back here, and we kind of talked about it. And this says write a paragraph. So it's not a one-sentence thing. It's going to be more than one. So what species am I going to talk about? Let's talk about if the deer left my ecosystem. If the deer left my ecosystem. Oh, man. I'm sorry, guys. If the deer left my ecosystem, it would be good for the grass population. I'm typing faster than it's showing up on my screen. Because there would be less eating the grass. Okay, there would be less eating the grass, so there would be more grass in my ecosystem. But it would hurt the coyote population. The coyotes would not have anything to eat. So they would die off. Okay, now let's go making sure that we've done all this part. Oh, I didn't tell you how the animal left. So let's go back here. The deer, what might cause the deer to die? The deer, I don't know if any of you are deer hunters or anyone in your family are deer hunters, but I know that my husband's been talking about some kind of disease that's affecting the deer right now. It starts with a C. I don't remember what it's called. But it's a brain-like disease, and it's making them go drink water, and they literally will drown themselves in water. They'll just keep drinking and drinking and drinking. So let's say the deer have a disease that is, we could say that is making them drink too much water and die. Okay. All right. Do you notice how mine is a paragraph? I would definitely want to make sure I come back and fix my mistakes here. I type sometimes too fast, but we all make mistakes, so make sure we've done that. Now, always go back and check your rubric to make sure you've done everything. Have I told how the animals left? Yep. Is it school appropriate? Yep. Tell me how this might benefit one species. Benefit just means that it's good. So I said that it was good for the grass population. Awesome. Let me know how this might hurt another species and tell me how it would affect them. It would be bad. We talked about it would be bad for the coyote population, but it tells me why it's bad. They would have nothing to eat. Okay, that is all I need for that second checkpoint. Okay, I keep calling them checkpoints, that second slide. Now, if you want to put color behind these slides, I'm okay with it. That's totally up to you, but we are going to need another slide in here for part 3. This is about what would happen abiotic factor. And I literally just copied it and pasted it in there, and you can do that too if you want. Now, I'm not going to model this one for you as much because it's very similar to what we just did. Up here, we talked about biotic factors, and that's a living thing. And so down here, this is all about an abiotic factor. Please add a slide to number 3 in your PowerPoint. Pick one abiotic factor from the ecosystem. And I don't think I mentioned this. This should be from checkpoint 2. You came up with 5 biotic, 5 abiotic. So now you're going to pick one of those things. So you're going to go in, you're going to tell me one abiotic factor. Again, write a paragraph telling me what happened, how this might benefit one species, and how it might hurt another species. Okay, so this is very similar to what we did on the slide right before it, only this is about an abiotic factor. Okay, you're going to write me a paragraph here. You'll want to make sure you proofread it, make sure you've done all the parts, and this is all that I'm asking you to do for your final project. So let me know if you guys have any questions on this. But I think you guys will do pretty well. If you have any questions, let me know. Send me an email. If we need to do a Google Meet, that's fine too. But let me know if you have any questions. All right. Good luck on your final project. Hopefully I see those soon. Have a good day, guys.